Well, good afternoon, everybody, or shall I say good evening, everybody. Certainly glad to be with you tonight. We're here on Barbecue Champ Academy Live. We got a great cook up tonight, Mr. Steve Noble. He is a big-time SCA competition cooker. Had a great year last year, and so far having a pretty good banner year here in 2022. Didn't get a chance to be with everybody last week. I just had so much on my plate, couldn't get everything coordinated and set up. I just said, you know what, I don't want to try to rush it. I'd rather have a good show. And I hate that we missed last week, but we are here this week, and we are certainly excited to have everybody with us. As you pop on, just please let us know. Gordon, how are you doing, sir? Thank you for being here with us. Looks like you've got a lot of cooking going on. I saw you and Brenda cooking up some steaks I don't know if it was yesterday, but man, I know one thing, they sure did look good. You guys keep nailing it. Y'all are going to have another great year this year. Jeremy, thank you for being with us. John, we can always count on you being here week in and week out. Same with Justin. Justin, thank you for being with us. And hopefully, like I said, we're going to have a pretty good show tonight. We got a chance to go out and do a little cooking. We had a competition about 120 miles from here. I went over to a little town called Maybank, Texas. And it was an outlaw cook-off, Outlaw Barbecue Association. And I ended up with a third place rib, third place third place brisket, third place rib, ninth place chicken, third overall. And my wife cooked the ancillary. She cooked a dessert and got third place in the dessert and had a third place in the pinto bean competition. So we had a lot of thirds and third overalls, but we'll take it. It was fun being over there to get with our barbecue family and had a great time. A lot of good cooks out there. And we're going to be off for a few weeks now. I don't think my next competition is going to be. It looks like until around June the 10th. We have one in our home state in Minden, Louisiana, about 45 miles from Shreveport. So we're looking forward to it. I'm kind of glad to get a little break. I've got a big project that I'm been under wraps of trying to get a new company launched here in the next week, maybe week and a half. I'm hopeful that maybe by the end of next week we can launch it. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get closer, but it's something that I've been really working hard on for the last month and a half to try to get off the ground and getting the website and stuff up, and we'll certainly let everybody know a little bit more about that here by next week. So Rick Manzi, man, appreciate you being here tonight. Always great being able to have you on our show. We do appreciate it. Stephen, thank you for being here as well. And Saginaw, Texas. That's a cool place, man. James, thank you for being here. And y'all kick my tail. Well, we try. I mean, you never know what's going to happen when we show up. That's for sure. But certainly glad that you're with us tonight. Heath, thank you for being here. And Justin, appreciate it. Miss Caitlin Crane, thank you for being here. Looking forward to the show tonight. Yes, I am too. Manny, aloha. Thank you for being here as well. Got a few more folks coming in. Well, looky who it is. Mr. John Lindsay's with us tonight. Thank you, John. Appreciate you being here. Look, I don't know if we probably haven't made the announcement yet, but we will get a chance to talk about this. We have signed up a deal with BBQ. BBQ TV is going to be airing our Barbecue Champs Clash of the Titans that we debuted here about a year and a half ago. And it's going to be, I think, on their TV and I think both of their apps on the Apple and Android app as well. So be looking for that probably here within the next week or so. I'm sure it's going to be out. It was a great 3-part series, Barbecue Champs Clash of the Titans. We had John Lindsay, Shauna Rapolo paired up. We had Matt Overson and Terry Roan. If you've already seen it, please don't give it away. But it was a great little show that we put together featuring some incredible cooks. And we are really excited to be working now with BBQ TV. We've got some other things that we've already talked with them, perhaps to do early next year. And we will keep you abreast on how that goes as we get a little bit closer to the end of the year. So anyway, we're really excited. We've got a lot of big things happening, and it's always great to be able to communicate those with you. Miss Judy, thank you for being here, and we had a great time over in Maybank, Texas. Just telling everybody about it, and love the Outlaw Barbecue Association. You did a great job running that event as always, and I really was wanting to be able to make Boone the cook-off in Burke Burnett 2 weeks from this coming up weekend. It's not this weekend, the following weekend. But I just have too much stuff going on the week prior, and I'm not going to be able to make it. And I really hate that I'm going to miss it, because I was certainly thinking about making the 6-hour drive up there to go cook it. It's going to be a great, great event. Catherine, thank you for being here tonight. I'm sure I've heard there's a lot of competition going on in the trailer between you and Steve. So, but we do appreciate you being here tonight as well. Paul, thank you for showing up. Mr. Danny, good to see you, brother. As always, thank you for being on tonight as well. Robert, thank you for being here. And we're getting ready to have a good show, I think, tonight. It's always fun hearing perspectives of new cooks that come in. We're going to find out a little bit about Steve and his history and where he came from. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy goes rolling up, ripping and roaring, and doing pretty deadgum well at the SCA competitions. He had a pretty good banner year last year, and he's got a very, very good year going this year as well. So, Alan, we appreciate you being here also. I do want to give a real quick shout out to all of our partners. We could not do what we do without them. Mr. Danny Helm at Be Extreme Barbecue, B&B Charcoal, the fine folks at Prairie Fresh. I tell you what, I've been cooking these Prairie Fresh ribs now for about a year, and I think I've only had one competition. I was outside the top 10. I had an 11th at my cook-off before, and everything else has been in the top 5 for the entire year. So absolutely love the Prairie Fresh ribs. If you are looking for one that'll put you over the top, you need to give them a try. Our good friend, Mr. Brian Crawford at Lone Star Barbecue Pro Shop. Mr. Wild Bill, we had him on here several weeks ago, and he's got some great rubs. He even told me some of the SCA teams are using. That's Texas Select Seasoning. Mr. David with Gunnar Wilhelm Knives. Dustin Stanley, the barbecue store, always comes through and getting rubs out the last minute. So if you ever know that crunch that you need to get something, he usually can ship out. I mean, I've called him at 4 o'clock before, and it's out the door that afternoon. So Mr. John Lindsay, it all queued up. We always appreciate him and the products they have. And finally, Daigle's Barbecue sauces and glazes. They've got some wonderful product, got some great rubs as well, and I use that stuff a lot in my barbecue competition. So we appreciate all of y'all's support. Well, look, y'all have heard me babble on long enough. We got about 21 folks on here tonight, and I'm sure a lot of folks are traveling to the Memphis in May, so we certainly do want to wish everyone going to Memphis in May to cook off this weekend huge success. I know we got several of our cooks. I know Lee Hickle told me that he was leaving early this morning. I talked to him. Lee Hickle's going to be there. Mark Lambert's going to be there. Matt Overson, Sterling Smitty. Smitty is going to be there. Sterling Smith. And that's just a few of them that I know of that's told me that they're going to make the trek over there. So we wish all those in our Barbecue Champ Academy classes good success, and certainly everybody competing on the Memphis in May and all the divisions this weekend. So without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Noble. Appreciate you being here, brother. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Man, I am doing fantastic. It looks like you've had a pretty good banner year rolling off at the end of last year, the way you came on strong, and so far it's carried over pretty good this year.
Yeah, it's been a blessing. I mean, we did a lot of changes at the end of last year as far as how we cook, and it's really, really, really helped.
Right.
And the consistency level went way up. So we're just blessed.
Yeah.
From where we came from.
Yeah. So where did you come from? I mean, on the comp trail, I mean, usually you're seeing the guys that's been out for, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I think you've only been cooking for about a little less than 2 years. So what's your background, Steve? What's the story? I mean, did you get started in barbecue? Did you switch over to steak? Did you have an influencer when you was growing up? Mom, dad, aunt, uncle? I mean, how did you start?
My mom was always a inspiration because she was like the comfort food queen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's the meat and 3 lady that and that's why I've always loved to cook, but
Right.
no formal training. I just basically a backyard cook and home entertainer, and we Catherine and I would throw parties here at the house or whatever, but nothing formal. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, uh, I couldn't watch sports, and I started watching YouTube videos with barbecue, and then I'd watch Barbecue Champs Academy, and actually the video that Cosmo did on his back porch cooking a steak. I just kind of said, I can do that, and so I got involved in it then, um, and then started researching the SCA
Hmm.
and did two cooks at the end of 2020, which the results were not great. And but then over the winter, I took my Barbecue Champs Academy. I took John Lindsay's class, and all I can say to any new cook is, I mean, I took John Lindsay's class. Him and he's a very process oriented guy. I haven't seen the other videos. I probably wished I would have taken more than one just to
Right.
kind of compare. But what a blessing to have this product out for new cooks. Because I mean, I had no background at all.
Right. Well, we appreciate that. So you took the class. You said you did a couple competitions prior to taking it. How did you do prior to taking a class? I mean, do you
The,
have?
believe it or not, the first one we went to, we were pulling a U-Haul trailer behind the truck to bring stuff there, and actually we had Jack Daniels things signs up, and
Hmm.
because we live real close to there, and I
Right.
used it in our sauce because they had a ribs and then a steak that day, and there was people on there saying, "Yeah, U-Haul Jack was there," and it's kind of a joke within us now that
Right.
we start seeing people come to comps with U-Hauls because that was us one day, but
Right.
no, we got second in ribs that day, and the steak part of it, it was like 30th, and my other
not
comps were,
not very
it
good.
wasn't
Yeah.
good. I mean, it was brutal. I was marinating in pineapple.
Oh wow. Yeah, I kind of guess that kind of changed the texture score a little bit.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't great.
you got into it. You cooked a few competitions, and if you like anybody else, it kind of bites you, and you really enjoy the brotherhood or the family that you have. I know we have a huge barbecue family. I know the SCA cookers. I've seen y'all in action and everybody around, and it's a wonderful thing to have so many wonderful people around. So I'm assuming did that kind of just like bite you a little bit and go, okay, I really want to do this, but I can't finish last all the time. So is that what kind of compelled you after you looked around to take a class on take John
Yeah,
Lindsay's
I
class?
actually we the thing is the people at the SEA events are amazing. We were actually next door neighbors with Mike Comiskey, who has also taken your classes, and he recommended that I take John Lindsay's class, and I did it, and it's boy, what a difference. That's all I can say. It gets you in the ballpark, and
Yeah.
I mean they share so much with you, and you still find that even with the people at the events, everybody's so giving, and they want to help each other. And
Right.
I mean, I don't. Marty Plute and I compete head to head, but he helps me a bunch, and
Right.
it's been a blessing to have so many people um, in a, in addition to the class to
Right.
bounce ideas off, and you know you're only as good as the people that are around you.
That's right. That's 100% right. Well, I know this. You had a great year last year. You finished 16th overall in the SEA points chase, and you wasn't even anywhere to be found halfway through the season. So I don't. When did you make the run to the top 20?
In August, I made it. I mean, I had good finishes throughout the year. I would have like I would finish second, and then I would finish 35th, and
Right.
then you'd finish sixth, and then you'd finish 28th, and the consistency wasn't there. And I'm just really competitive, and I said I need to fix this. So in August, I started tinkering around with some things with my grill and cooking techniques,
Hmm.
and I think we cook differently than anybody else in the SCA. We use a grill that I don't believe anybody else uses in the SCA, and it's been able to give me the consistency that I was looking for. In
Hmm.
When I started really implementing it at the beginning of September last year, I was in 109th place in the points and finished sixth. A lot of people think I just got hot this year, but it's been
From the
pretty stable since September.
fourth
Of
quarter
last
of last year, you went from 109th to 16th overall. That's a pretty big deadgum jump in 3 months. So whatever you got figured out, it's rolled off into this year. Now here we are, almost 5 full months into the year, and now you're sitting currently third overall in the SCA points chase for this year. And you were second last week, so man, that is absolutely impressive, Steve.
Thank you.
So you was basically just a backyard cook, right?
Yeah,
That
I
was
was burning hot dogs like most people. I mean,
yeah,
it was nothing special, and uh, I still I'm lucky I have friends to help me with barbecue techniques. That I mean, I thought I was a good cook, but I found out I'm not. I
yeah,
wasn't then. I mean, it's just been an amazing journey to say the least. But it should be people that just started out on this. I'm hoping to be an example to those people that you can do it.
yeah, yeah.
You got to work though. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
taking a lot of work.
yeah. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the practice. I remember when John had came down when we had filmed him. When we actually filmed that class, we filmed. It was Super Bowl weekend. I guess that was 2020, and we filmed John on a Saturday, and then the very next day, Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, we filmed Terry Roan. And that was one of the things that John kind of said. He said, "Brother, I'm always practicing. You got to practice. You got to practice." And you could kind of see that. I could really, I saw them cook one time, right? It was a practice steak. Then they cooked their steak for the class, and that was it. But when we filmed Barbecue Champs Clash of the Titans, and we had, Terry and Matt and John and Shauna Rapolo here, uh, that was when you really got to see everything was just so natural to these guys. You could watch John over there in his cooking process, and just as smooth as he could be, he knew the cooking process. I watched Terry, and I gave him the nickname right there on the spot, Iceman. I mean, you got ice water flowing through your veins, brother, because I mean, it's just it looked like a robot. It was. I mean, it's almost like he's over there breakdancing. I mean, everything was so fluid and so smooth. And I literally, I said I could probably blindfold you, and you could probably cook the perfect steak. And I hear people like Rick Manzi and Raz talking about muscle memory, where you just get so used to it, and you know everything to do. So the practice part of it, you do have to put in the time. I see Catherine pops up here, 16 steaks in 16 days. I
16
would
steak practices.
six,
That's two
yeah,
steaks at a time.
yeah, 16 steaks, 16 days. So that's a lot of practicing, and that's what you have to do if you're going to get good. You can't just go cook. Nah, I'm gonna show up to competition and do it. Blah blah blah. I mean, barbecue, we do that. I don't ever practice. I mean, I just my cooking process is really good. I'm very comfortable with I've got a rotisserie cooker, so I really don't ever practice brisket, ribs. I need to really do something with chicken. My wife was like, "How come you've never practiced a chicken? It's a cheap piece of meat and you can cook it in an hour." I need to. I probably should, but to me, a lot of it is you know we don't really have certified judges that we're cooking for, right? They're
Right.
just people right off the street, and so I tell them it doesn't matter what I think it tastes like. If I'm going to cook something, I usually cook a new recipe at a competition. How well did it stack up at a competition? If it did good, okay. If it didn't, and I thought it was pretty good, I may try it one more time. But the steak stuff's a little bit different. Y'all's is a lot of technique, that it's presentation, it's the texture, it's the doneness. There's a lot of things y'all have to nail perfect because you're trying to get that perfect 50 score, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts at the steak selection table.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been probably my most it's been my most difficult thing to learn. And Mark Lambert actually put out a video where he sliced a loin down and it helped me out a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I've become a YouTube junkie now, watching for stuff like that and seeing the different videos that are out there. But it's the thing is with the steak cooking versus probably barbecue, and I'm just going to say this is, you know, chicken is your fastest meat and it takes an hour.
Yeah.
A steak is within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And although my process before I put the steak on the grill is about an hour and a half.
Right.
So
Right.
I spend more time off the grill than I do on the grill.
Right.
But when I look at it, and I'll tell you, when you run for points, you don't have a lot of energy. I mean, we've got a real estate appraisal business where we try to work 4 12-hour days so we can go play on the weekends. And when you make the commitment to do this, you got to cook every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't practiced the last 2 weeks and it's shown, but actually sitting in front of that grill needs to be a motor skill like breathing. You
Mm-hmm.
need, like you said, um, Terry could do it with his, blindfolded,
Yeah.
and you need to be that way. And a lot of it's feel, and every steak's different when you elevate it, and there's just so many variables in this that I don't think people realize to be good. There's
Right.
not one pull temp for a steak. It
No.
depends on the steak. Is it,
It,
a number two, a number three, a number four? Is it, what's the marbling in it? What's the eye look like? What's the lighting in the judging area?
mm-hmm.
And these are things that I've been lucky enough to pick up from other people. But we've got a process right now on our grill that, I mean, I'm a firm believer that flavor, of course, is the most important thing because it's the only thing that you can get above a 10 points on from a judge. But
Mm-hmm.
then it's your doneness, because with doneness, you got to hit that, because that can affect flavor, but it can also affect the tenderness of the steak, and your texture, and everything that goes along with it. But that's what I've done with changing our process on our grills, that was to hit the doneness.
Right.
And um, it's it's been pretty neat. A lot of people don't believe me what we're doing, but
Yeah.
it's working.
Yeah. I got Jeff, and Jeff, certainly, man, condolences to you and the loss of your
Definitely.
dad last week, man. I know that had to be gut wrenching for you, especially with Sonny being at World Food Championships. So, our prayers certainly were out for you and the family during that difficult time, man. And I hope things are getting better. It's a long process to get over, but the one good thing is, if it's like most, hopefully you've got some really good memories that you can always remember. But he posted something, and it's funny. Him and John Lindsay said the same thing. It's not practice until you get it right. It's practice until you can't get it wrong. And that's basically what John says. That's why he's winning. Practice until you can't get it wrong. So that's coming from two very, very good cooks. I mean, let's face it,
Outstanding.
Jeff and John are just two of the top there is. And Jeff and Sonny has just been crushing it this year. So, and last year. I mean, they're just killing it. So, but that's a really good philosophy. It's practice until you can't get it wrong. I mean, when you get that good at it that you can't screw it up, then you're probably in pretty good shape. But it goes to show. I mean, that's where the state competition is gotten to. These guys, I saw Brendan Gordon cooking steaks up a storm. I see all these people just constantly cooking practice steaks all the time. I remember John used to tell me he used to cook 3 or 4 practice steaks a week. Now he's done got so dead gun busy, he don't get a chance to cook as much. But hopefully he's got that down now where he's practiced so much he can't get it wrong. But still, you can get rusty, just like you said. You've been off a little bit. You haven't been cooking as much, and you could tell it was off a little bit.
Well,
So
and it's muscle memory. It's like somebody that has a surgery on their leg or something. Look how fast they lose their muscles.
yeah,
I mean, I've had friends that had ACL surgery, and within 2 days, their legs are
yeah,
the leg they had. I mean, and it's really shown. I mean, I got really lazy the last 2 weeks, and uh, we're gonna have one of those, because I'm actually this weekend. We're cooking in Winchester, which is 10 minutes down the road, so it's gonna seem like a week off. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time practicing this week.
right. That's good. Well, if y'all have got any questions, for Steve, certainly fire away. I mean, if there's something he feels like he wants to talk to you about, that's it. I doubt he wants to give you his exact recipes or anything, but if there's just something, little things that you'd like to know that he feels like he can give an answer to, pop the question in. That's what we like to do on these things, and open it up to a Q&A. So I do have one question. Competition teams, 716 South. I was like, all right, so tell me how we got 716 South.
Well, I'm originally from Western New York. I lived actually in Jamestown, New York, near Chautauqua Lake, about 60 miles south of Buffalo. And as you can see, this
I
is my
see that.
happy
Sabres,
place.
Buffalo Bills.
I'm,
Yep.
you know, if you're still a fan of those teams after some of the seasons they've had, you're a diehard. But
You're a diehard.
that's 716 is, if somebody came from there, they know what they're talking about. They know what you're talking about, and it's just the people up there are incredibly bonded. In fact, I've got a following on Twitter, and there's a gentleman named Greg Tomsett that does a show for Cover One, and we've started something called Grills Mafia. On the Saturday night before we play on Sunday, everybody cooks a steak or cooks something, and they show pictures of it, which we've actually added to the back of our team. But I'm from the 716 area code, and my wife spent most of her life in Tennessee. And on our trailer, we actually have a picture of New York State and Tennessee, and we called it 716 South.
Oh,
My
that's
Bills
pretty cool.
colors are on Buffalo, or on the New York State, and her Tennessee Titans colors are. And believe me, you don't want to be around us during that football game.
No, probably not.
No, it's not good.
Not. So who's your college team that you like?
Well, we didn't have any good colleges
No.
up in New York.
So
A lot of people, I don't
I,
really, well, I mean, Syracuse is my basketball team
right.
and football, but they're not very good. But
No.
I've got nephews that went to Georgia, and I've got, of course, you try to root for Tennessee, or
Well,
I'm
if your
pretty
wife
open
is
to college.
if your wife is rooting for Tennessee and y'all, I would imagine an Alabama team would probably be out of the question. She'd probably kick you right out of the trailer.
No, she's
So
actually not too much into that. We're both more professional football.
okay,
Um,
okay. When you said Tennessee, I'm thinking the Vols, right?
no, she's a
I,
Tennessee Titan fan.
Tennessee
Trust me.
Titan.
I got
Okay,
a
so
flag sitting right here that says "House Divided." Bills
yeah.
and Titans. I mean,
Okay,
it gets
okay.
ugly that day. She doesn't even want to watch it with me anymore. She said she's going to go down to the local pub and sit there with some friends. So,
That's funny. So that's how the name came up.
yep,
716, the area 716 area code 716, and then South. That's pretty cool. That's pretty
yep,
cool. Well, I mean, your wife has been doing pretty dadgum well, and if I recall, she's sitting number one in the SCA ancillary points. Is that correct?
yeah, she's pretty solid, and I still want to beat her every weekend, though. I mean, that's we just and her father-in-law goes with us too. He's 11th in stake right now.
Oh,
Larry
really?
Alford. He's
Okay.
so I mean we've come up with a process, and he started late last year, and um, there's something right with it that we're doing right. And when you go, like we went to Kennett this past weekend, and I got eighth in stake, Catherine got fifth, and Larry got second. So
Wow.
when the whole band, it kind of makes me feel bad that they both whipped my butt that day, but
Right.
it,
Right.
it's just amazing. But the process is, I mean, you get the basics, and then you tune it to what you want to do. I've
Hmm.
actually, Rick Manzi is we should have been brothers. I just absolutely love him to death. We talk like little teenagers on the phone 3 or 4 times a week. And I actually shared my process with him, and he was amazed. He's actually nicknamed me Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi.
So we have a lot of wax on, wax off.
I saw the wax on, wax off hashtag
Yeah,
just a minute
yeah,
ago,
he's
and I didn't exactly know what it was, and I was like, well, I don't. Maybe that's an inside joke that I don't know about. But now I'm glad that you brought it up. So, and who
the
who
details
coined
from the details I picked up from John Lindsay in his class.
right?
The details that go on in my trailer for steak is just, it's unbelievable. From and I'm going to give everybody a pro tip today.
Okay.
The strings when you put on your steak, a lot of times people put them on dry. We soak ours for at least an hour in beef stock before, because sometimes when that steak's in there, it'll tense up on you, and it'll cause your steak to mushroom
Yep.
and can change the. But I
The
do it
finish.
before I marinate because it's already full. And even when you don't, if you string it before you marinate, it could soak up and change its composition. But the details that deep, as far as soaking your strings before you string the thing,
Yeah.
so it doesn't change the shape of the steak. Um, just it's just a pretty detailed process, but
Yeah.
it's
Well, you think about that string when it is dry, it's gonna shrink up, right? I would have to think if it's wet, it's got so much moisture in it, it can't shrink up because you can't in that 4 or 5 minutes you can't cook the liquid out of it. So,
so if
or
you change the consistency of the string during the
yeah,
cook, then you can. It's there's
it
just
changes.
a lot of people don't realize there's so much to this than
Yeah.
meets the eye. It's a lot of details.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. It's the little things that you find out that can make a difference, and that's a pretty cool pro tip. Let's see. Jeff says I respect the nobles first and foremost as great people and friends, but love the fact they cook steak, and then let's say every weekend truly great cooks. There you go. So Cassie popped up. So soak string pre-brining. Yes, he's saying that he takes this string and you're soaking it in a beef stock, beef broth.
Because if you don't do it before, when you start, I don't know. Some people might dunk their whole steak. I do it a half at a a side at
Right,
a
half at a
time.
time.
But
Yep,
if it starts soaking up in the string, it can change its composition that way too.
yep, that's true. That's 100% true. Interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. It's the little things because that string it's going to draw up some. If it's sitting there and it's dry, it has a tendency of drawing up. I could see that because it's dry. So that's pretty cool. If anybody's got any questions for Steve, certainly pop them up. We'll certainly ask them for you. And let's see what else we got here. Would love to see Jesse, Dylan, James cook off in Searcy, Arkansas in June. Okay, yeah, you gonna go to the Jesse Dillon cook off or not
Yeah,
in
I went
Searcy,
last year.
Arkansas?
I wouldn't miss it, and I I don't cherry pick contests because I go to the ones with cause, and that was a great cause. And in fact, I probably said this on other shows, but this past uh, year, my best friend's son committed suicide, and that's what happened with Jeremy's son. And
Right.
what do you say? I mean, I've never been in that situation, and to have him to be able to call was was an absolute blessing. I mean, and I thank him. I mean, he wanted to send them a care package, and he gave me all kinds of tips on what to do. And
Right.
you don't fall into those life situations very often, but the
Right.
people you meet along this is just one big happy family, and we're all looking out for each other. And I really appreciate all the people that I've been around.
Yeah. I tell you, that's a hard deal right there. I hate to hear that. So yeah, and having somebody to talk to get through that, it helps. It really, really does because that's something that you just can't prepare yourself for something like
No,
that. So especially when it's out of the blue. Um, let's see, Rick Manzi, Catherine, Laren, and Steve are the best of the best in SCA. Great folks, friends, and fierce competitors. Hashtag family. That's so Rick. That's your brother right there. So,
yeah,
and I guess
my
y'all
brother
two,
from another mother.
your brother from another mother. I guess y'all kind of got along a little bit because you up in New York, and where's Rick from? Is he up in that Jersey area? So,
I've lost
uh,
my accent though. He's still. You need
he's got
subtitles when
his.
Rick Manzi comes on.
Oh, he's definitely got it. I love talking to Rick, man. That accent, you
Barbecue.
get, yeah, Bobby Q. You get that accent going with a Southern boy like me, and man, I tell you what, they'd probably look at us too, like, man, you two bozos right here. Where'd y'all come from? So, yeah, he's definitely got the accent for it. That is for sure. So, and then you get Raz in on top of it, then man, you just got the character that's going to stir the pot. So, oh goodness, it's
I
it's
finally
it's
got to meet Raz this year. At the end of um, last year, and we spent some time in Young Harris this year. But it's just been amazing to walk up to Terry Roan and meet him. I'm like shaking because he's like
Yeah.
he's a legend, or Johnny
Yeah.
Joseph, or
Right.
it's just Sandy and Tim Brown. I mean, it's these guys are these cookers are like amazing, and you feel like you don't belong sometimes because I was a backyard cook not too long ago.
Yeah. I mean, you think about this. This is 2020. This is less than 2 years.
Yeah,
And now everybody's sitting up there to look at you. You know, the Nobles are great friends, love cooking with them. So you've went from nobody even knew who you was
yeah,
to just everybody praises you and just thinks you are the best of the best. And I mean, all these, yeah, here we are, the best of the best, and and you're somewhat, I guess you could say, a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that number right there is saying quite a bit. So that's a pretty good thing, man. I mean, to be able to do that, and I was really, I think you had reached out to me here a couple of weeks ago, and you had just thanked me for the classes, on Barbecue Champs, and I always like to give people a chance to tell their story, to find out how they got into this, because that's kind of our big deal. Is we are trying to grow the sport of barbecue. We're trying to grow the sport and the competition side of steak cooking, and to give you a platform that you can go in and learn and be able to go in. And when you start winning and hitting, people is going to start paying attention to you and talking to you a whole lot more. And now look at you. You've done very well, and you've reached out to me in that message on Messenger and just thanked me for it. And I really do appreciate it. And when I saw where you was at in the points, and the success that you've had, I like those success stories, because you've got people, here's Cassie that's on here, and, fantastic, came in last 18 months ago, so I'll take any tips I can get. And, the tip for you was take classes on Barbecue Champ. You
yes,
took one, but now you wished you had taken more. And I do think, some of our most successful ones that are just always seems to be crushing it, they've taken 3 or 4. They've learned techniques. One thing I see in these classes, people are they all the same? No, they're not. Everybody cooks a little different. I see techniques that John does. I see Terry's techniques is completely different. Marissa Overson's techniques. Will's got some techniques. All of them are a little bit different. And to me, that's what I think is, some of these people is like, man, I have learned so much, and I've learned all these little techniques. And in barbecue, we say a lot of times it's the techniques that get you there. A recipe's a recipe. It's the techniques. You want me to tell you a technique that you just share with everybody? Soaking a stinking string in beef broth. That's a technique, right? So anyway, man. But congratulations, on what you've done. Barbecue as a sport is where a belly, guts, and a ability to eat is seen as a skill. Yeah, it's true. So. It's the small details, as Justin just popped up. That's true. The
take care
Nobles
of
are
the
great.
little stuff, and the big stuff won't happen.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great analogy right there. So, you've got to take it's the little attention to detail. I mean, to me, that's what I say. It's just the attention to detail. My barbecue cooks are always the same. My food tastes the same every time. I've got a lot of techniques and things that I do to keep the consistency there, and you've got to get into that habit of doing that. And I think a lot of times people don't. So, but it seems like to me you've just had an incredible year. I mean, you figured out some stuff there at the end of the fourth quarter last year. I mean, to go from 109th to 16th in the points, you figured out some stuff. That's a pretty amazing run. And to show that it wasn't a fluke, well, look where you are right now. It's just continued to go. So that's pretty impressive to be able to do that. So let's see. Michael Underwood, Catherine, definitely helped my trimming game. Yeah, even trimming a steak. People don't realize there's some techniques in trimming that steak to make that steak do what you want it to do as well. So anyway, has anybody got any questions for Steve? Now's a great time. Pop them in. If there's something he feels like he can answer, he certainly will. And let's see. Danny says steak cooking is just like barbecue. It's the little things that make you a winner. Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Steve?
Definitely. I mean, it's the attention to details and um, The biggest thing, again, it goes back to the practice part. I mean, like I said earlier, I changed my cooking style incredibly. I mean, I'm using a Masterbuilt 800 Gravity Series. Nobody else is using that. They're not
Right.
fun to drag around with you because they're not very mobile, but
Right.
it gives me an ability to do things that a lot of other people can't do. Um, the only thing I think I could do it on a pellet grill, but I mean, we're running a lot lower temperatures than people and bringing the steak up differently than most. But you hear these stories about people's steaks going up 3 degrees, 5 degrees, 7 degrees. We're getting a degree rise.
Right. Right.
That's it.
Because you're
And
not
and
cooking
you
as
can nail
hot.
done this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You don't have the huge carryover.
No,
So yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Let's see what he says here. Steve is also, yeah, ancillary point. Where are you at on ancillary points?
I'm in fifth
Fifth place. Okay, look
place.
at this. I didn't even check that.
Yeah.
I knew Catherine was first, so I didn't
Oh, we have
realize
a
she
lot of
was second.
wagers along the way.
I can imagine.
It's
I can
pretty
imagine.
fierce.
Now be careful what you say because she is on the show
Oh,
watching.
I know.
So
No, she knows. I mean, I've ate crow a couple times, but
I
I mean,
bet.
she's tough, but um, we all make each other better.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what Jeff says. Consistency is key. I'd be willing to bet good money Steve hadn't changed much in his process or flavor profile in several months. Yeah, and once you get it, I I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's changing his brisket all over the different rub here. Tried a different, tried it, and I was like, man, you had a really good brisket. Why are you changing everything? Well, it's just changing. I was like, but your brisket ain't hitting now. Have you ever thought about just going back to what got you there? I mean, if you had something that's really hitting a good flavor profile, maybe just tweak it. If it dropped off a little bit, maybe tweak it a little bit. Don't just throw it away and go and try something completely different. I'm cooking my same brisket recipe that I cooked in 2018. Same rubs, same flavor profile, everything. I'm just changing some of the things that I'm doing with the rubs, and it's still a good brisket. It's getting me top 10 calls. So um,
And too
anyway,
many people make quick changes based upon scores they get that week. But you can't just look at your line of scores. You have to look at the scores in general because the judges are going to be different. One weekend you might get a 53.2 on taste, and the
right,
next weekend a 51.1, but you were still at the third highest taste score. You can't look at just the number. You got to look at the whole thing in general to see where you're at. But I don't make a lot of big changes at all.
right, right. Yeah, I mean that's it's the little small changes I think that makes it consistent. Let's see, Terry Roan, turn her over your knee, Steve.
Yeah, I got to do something.
Yeah, you got to do something because she's definitely tearing you up on that.
Yeah,
So
she about got me doubled up.
yeah, let's see, Catlin. We met the Nobles for the first time in Tennessee, April 2021, and we enjoyed meeting them, cooking next to them, and always look forward to seeing them at the comps. This is from Caitlin Crane. So, Paul Wolf, let's see. Both the Nobles are awesome people and cooks, inspiration to all. It's got to make you feel good.
It
So,
does.
um, anyway,
The best thing about it though is, like I said, I'm going to try to compete this year for the points, but it doesn't change me, and that's been the greatest thing. That
right,
you know, I'm still the same guy. You can come drink a beer with me. We can talk and
right,
do
right.
whatever. It's just I like to have a good time, but when it's game time, it's game
It's
time.
it's game time. That's right. That's 100%. So I don't know how many times I've told that to people at barbecue competitions, and man, they wake up Saturday morning and they're pretty hungover, and I was like, "How you gonna cook good, consistent food?" I don't know. I stayed up too late last night, and I was like, "Then don't blame don't blame nobody but yourself if you don't do good because you're not gonna cook very good if you stumbling around and you're
Yeah,
forgetting half the things that you're supposed to do. I mean, if you're coming here to cook and do good, then shorten it down a little bit on Friday night, and then be prepared for Saturday morning for a good cook. So, um, although I got some friends that can be totally tore up and cook good anyway, so
yeah.
you just got those that can do it. But if you are struggling, I would say go in. It's time to cook. It's time to cook. So, anybody got any questions for Mr. Steve? let us know. So anyway, well, Steve, I tell you what, man, it's been great hearing your story. I always feel really good, and I know all of our cooks that's on Barbecue Champs do as well. When we see success stories like yours, it just it makes me feel really good because that was the whole purpose of starting Barbecue Champs Academy. And I've got a lot of people that will share it. I got some people that don't talk about it, but I know their stories and I see it. I see the results, and it's really gratifying and rewarding to be able to see that. And I know that obviously it's changed your life, and now you and your wife are out, and on the competition circuit. And look where you was 2 years ago. You was in your backyard burning up hot dogs and inviting people over, and now you got everybody that's praising you how great of a people you are, and you're out on the competition circuit. I can say the same thing for Gordon and Brenda and Gordon Thompson, and I mean those guys are the same thing. They were wanting to go to Robbie Royal's barbecue class, in-person class, and COVID hit, and it canceled it. So he went on Barbecue Champs and took the class there and started getting into the steak stuff. And now he's cooking. Brenda's cooking. I think his daughter's cooking as well. And he was like, man, this never would have happened, had it not been for what, this opportunity, this platform that you gave us for doing that. So, you're really kind of like the second family that I know that's kind of gotten out there and doing that really came from not even doing this at all. And man, to me, that is so cool because, I always say, barbecue, steak cooking, anything cooking, it's about family, it's about friends, it's about loved ones, and building those everlasting memories. That's kind of one of the things. I do a lot of online cooking classes for big corporations and stuff. And that's usually how I close it out, because it is those memories that you can build. And to me, there's nothing better than having, a husband, a wife, or a husband, a wife, and a daughter, bonded together, going out, doing something that you both love to do.
Yep.
And you've got so many wonderful people that are, your friends, and they're praising you and everything else. To me, that is that's priceless. It really is. That's something that just the glue that holds everybody together. So,
well, I wouldn't be here talking to you now, but if the bit of advice I would give is, if you're going to get involved in this, the first chapter in your book that you're going to write needs to be a Barbecue Champs Academy class, because it gets you. I mean, it introduces you to all the characters in the book. It gets you going in the flow, and it's just, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I hadn't taken it. And then you have the blessing then I finally get to meet John Lindsay. And then I get to meet Ronald Burns and his family.
Right.
Who, I mean, they're all amazing. And then as you move along, new characters come into the book.
Right.
And it's just been really cool.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. It means a lot, Steve. I really appreciate it. So, well, man, I wish you all the best success and and a little luck because it takes a lot of luck as well. This year, sure. I mean, you're having a banner year, and I hope things continue to go well for you and Catherine. I think she's. I know Craig Carter's after on that ancillary because he told me, he said he really wanted it. So it's going to be great to see those two going. But I wish both of y'all all the success in the world. I appreciate your support. And I appreciate you coming on and telling us your story, because you had a pretty neat story when you told me I was just a backyard guy, and I'm doing pretty good right now. And I love to give. At that time you was the underdog, right? Now here you are. You're one of the guys. Like, man, I look up to that guy. I know that guy. So
now you got a target on your back.
Yeah, you got a target on your back. It's probably a pretty big target on your back, but. That's good. That's really good. But I really appreciate it. I'm very happy for you and Catherine. I'm glad y'all found a sport, a hobby, something that y'all can do together. And I really do appreciate you taking the time coming on tonight and sharing that story with us. It's been my pleasure and an honor to have you with us. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, look, I hope everybody's enjoyed our show tonight. And we've had great people, great comments. We really do appreciate everybody being on here. And as always, I appreciate everybody taking a little bit of time out on a Tuesday night to sit here and come join us and talk a little bit of barbecue, talk a little bit about steak. Next week, I think I've got another huge success story with Steve Dotson. I think we're going to try to get him on our show. We've had him on probably about a year and a half ago, and he had done incredibly well in the KCBS Backyard Division. And here recently, he has jumped into the KCBS Pro Division with some amazing success right off the get-go, and we're going to have him on to tell a little bit about that. And Steve, once again, man, we appreciate you being on tonight. Thank you so much. And we thank everybody that's been with us tonight. We appreciate it so much. As we always say when we end our classes, y'all go out there, have a lot of fun,